It's an entertainment experience so fantastic. We just...
The news team with the 5 o'clock news.
Good evening. A startling slaying is sending shockwaves through San Francisco tonight. Popular art gallery owner Zachary Barnes was found shot dead at his workspace. The man being charged with his murder is Barnes' partner and renowned artist James Tobin. Our own Frank Somerville is live at the crime scene.
Laura, details are still sketchy, but police tell me that Barnes was found shot in his gallery right behind me around 9:30 yesterday. Police are saying they answered a 911 call from Yvonne Barnes, the victim's wife. When they arrived at the scene, there were signs of a desperate struggle. Barnes was already dead, and artist James Tobin was lying near Barnes' body, injured. After some initial questioning, Tobin was then taken to General for treatment, where he's listed now in good condition.
Frank, why is this case eliciting so much interest?
Well, actually, several reasons, Laura. Barnes and Tobin were long-term friends and business partners. They were also prominent in San Francisco's art and cultural circles. The tragedy of this case really cannot be overestimated. These people represented the best of San Francisco, and no matter the outcome of the investigation and the possible trial, the people of this town are the true losers.
Frank, how well known as an artist is James Tobin?
His paintings hang in many prominent San Francisco homes, and they sell in the high 5 figures. This is going to be a battle royal. Already, rumors of runaway greed and a lurid sexual triangle will make this trial the hottest ticket in town.
Thank you, Frank, for that in-depth report. Stay tuned to Channel 2 for the very latest in this dramatic story.
Hey, how'd you know where I was?
Like you're not here every morning?
As long as nobody's murdered nobody. You starting the Barnes case today?
Yep.
Good. I went over my videos, my interviews with the witnesses, and I took out all the juicy parts for you. They're on your desk.
Thanks.
And one of them is the defendant. And it's a good thing I talked to him because Charleston's his attorney, and he's sure not going to be talking to us now.
You mean Cynthia Charleston's the defense?
Yeah, more rubles and scruples, that one. This case is not going to be a barbecue.
Picnic.
Hey, what happened to my side of bacon already? And the victim's widow works for the mayor's office, press officer.
Great.
I kind of figured this was an open and shut case. 2 guys, business partners. One of them stripping the other's girlfriend. The other guy gets
Wait,
upset.
how do you know this?
I found a love letter on the deceased's computer. You got a copy.
You're very efficient.
Thanks. But the defendant is trying to claim self-defense. Your job is going to be to prove that he only planned to make it look that way. Not that I'm trying to tell you how to do your job.
Of course not. Know anything about the grand theft charge?
Not much. A bunch of paintings were stolen from the gallery. And Tobin and Barnes were going to split the insurance money, close to $500,000.
Maybe the deceased got cold feet.
He does now.
That's a lot of dough. $500,000. Hey, how are the hotcakes?
Did you want to buy? Sorry to keep you waiting.
It's okay. I can't believe this happened.
Yeah, it is pretty terrible. What was your relation to Mr. Barnes?
I was his friend. Jimmy Tobin is my boyfriend. We live upstairs. Is he going to be okay?
Oh, yeah, it appears to just be a surface wound. Most of that blood belonged to Mr. Barnes.
Jimmy warned me this was going to happen. He said Zach wasn't to be trusted. Why'd he try and kill him anyway?
Well, we're not so sure that he did.
Talked to Jimmy. They said they were arguing.
Did he tell you what they were arguing about?
Yes. No. I'm sorry. My heart's still pounding in my head. I can't believe this.
Ho. Wait, let's back up. Where were you earlier today, before the shooting?
You asked me that at the loft already. Yvonne and I went to a meeting for Arts in the Streets to put up murals in the Mission, but it was canceled.
And
And so she and I drove back to the gallery. I couldn't find a parking space, so I dropped her off. There's usually parking under the freeway.
And how long were you gone exactly?
As long as it takes to drive to 9th Street and back. I didn't carry a stopwatch. I remember Yvonne on her knees next to Zach. I was trying to help Jimmy, and I saw all this blood on his shirt, and at first I thought it was Jimmy who got shot in the chest.
Did you see a gun at the scene?
No. Jimmy said he looked really pale, real awful. There was stuff scattered about the place and broken glass, and he said, I'm sorry. Zach tried to kill me. Please call 911. Yvonne was trying to give Zach CPR or something, and then she came rushing at us. She was out of her head.
What happened?
Well, she started saying crazy things. She started kicking Jimmy and saying crazy things.
Like what?
Something about, I don't know, Jimmy killed him, and I killed him, and she killed him, and that she loved him, and she killed him. It didn't make any kind of sense. I tried to put my arms around her, just holding her, but she broke away, and she went back to Zach, trying to save him for the last time, but I guess it was too late. You know, if Jimmy hadn't moved out of the way, that bullet might have killed him.
Yeah, I suppose. Did Jimmy... No. Is it James or Jimmy?
People call him both. They call him Tobin, too.
Did Jimmy set up the meeting?
I don't know.
How long in advance?
I said, I don't know. You're trying to make it out like he planned it or something.
No, I'm just trying to figure out...
No, that's what you're doing. You can just go to hell.
Some information for our records. Your full name, please.
Ruby Garcia.
Current residence.
I live with Jimmy. We have a loft apartment above the gallery, number 2 Brennan Place.
How long have you known Mr. Tobin?
About a year. I'm a student at the Art Institute, and we met one night after a guest lecture he did. I moved in about a month later. But he had already broken up with his wife. That's what you're thinking.
You know, you are a real case.
You know, you're lucky I'm even talking to you.
I'm lucky? Listen, lady. Your friend was murdered this morning, and I'm trying to figure out what happened, and you are acting like a girl dog.
They won't let you say bitch.
Oh, my daughter made me promise to stop cussing.
Strict, huh?
Oh, she's a tyrant. Okay. Prior residence, please.
Before moving to the city, I lived in San Jose, near downtown, where I used to grow up. I came here to the Institute on a scholarship. My parents didn't have that much money.
So how did Zachary Barnes and your boyfriend get along?
They were business partners and best friends. Jimmy is a brilliant artist, and Zach was a wonderful person.
Were you also friends with his wife, Yvonne?
Yvonne knew Jimmy's ex-wife, Helen, and I think she's always judged me against her. Yvonne has a surface, but once we got past that, we got along pretty good.
And how was her relationship with her husband?
They loved each other, I guess. Though, lately, since she's went to go work for the mayor, she's been really wrapped up in her career. Zach talked to me about it.
Was Yvonne jealous of your friendship with her husband?
Why? There was no need for her to be.
Your boyfriend, was he jealous?
Look, there you go again.
Look! I gotta ask what I gotta ask.
Yeah, well, I don't gotta answer.
Were there any unusual incidents recently at the gallery? You know, fights, angry customers, something along those lines?
Nothing. Well, there was a break-in in the gallery a couple of weeks ago, and some of Jimmy's paintings were stolen, but they were insured.
I'll look into it. Has Jimmy ever been violent towards you?
No. Are we done yet? I've told you everything I know.
Ruby, for your information, certain evidence suggests that James Tobin may not be telling the truth.
Evidence? That's a lie. I know how you cops start to get in.
Think what you like. We are preparing to charge Mr. Tobin.
You are?
Miss Garcia, you should prepare for some rough times ahead. Where were you this afternoon?
I was sleeping. When the cops came, they dragged me right out of bed. This isn't about those stolen paintings, is it?
No. There's been a murder, Mr. Lee.
A murder?
Mm-hmm. Zachary Barnes was shot to death in the gallery.
Holy... Well, are you sure?
Mm-hmm. His wife ID'd the body at the scene.
Yvonne?
Mm-hmm. Yvonne. Was Mr. Tobin on good terms with Zachary Barnes?
Why? You think Tobin killed him?
What makes you say that?
His tone of voice.
Just answer my questions, Mr. Lee. Were Tobin and Mr. Barnes on good terms?
Sure, they were tight.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever hear them argue?
Well, things got a little fierce sometimes, but it's because they both loved their work. You know what I mean.
Did you like Zachary?
Yeah, it was cool.
What I have here is a photograph of Mr. Barnes taken by the police photographer just a few hours ago.
Well, this is too much. Can I smoke a cigarette?
No, not in a public building. Please take a close look at the gun in the photograph. There. Just a few inches from Mr. Barnes' hand.
Yeah.
You ever seen that weapon before?
No, I've never seen it before. I don't know anything about this.
I understand you were pretty good friends with Mr. Tobin.
Sure. He was a good boss as far as bosses go. Cut me advances, let me work my own hours. Zachary was sort of my boss too.
How long you worked for them?
Since last August. Before that, I was riding a bike in the street delivering junk for all the jackets. It was pretty intense, you know, banging up and down the streets, looking out for buses, cabs, streetcar tracks, potholes, jerks opening car doors right in front of you, all for a few bucks. One day, I threw down my bike and just walked away.
Yeah?
And then I wandered around that day, wandered into the gallery, and Tobin offered me a job right off the street. Not everybody would do that. My full name?
Mm-hmm.
Simon Alphonsus Lee.
How long are your current residence?
About a year and a half. Moved out from Florida.
Your parents know you're here?
I'm 22 years old.
What's your father's name?
He died. He left when I was real young.
What about your mother?
Gloria Lee. She teaches school in Dade County, 8th grade.
You ever been arrested, Simon? Hey, it's easy enough for me to call Dade County and find out myself.
Yeah, one time. In high school, some friends of mine stole this old man's truck. It's no big deal.
How did Tobin get along with his girlfriend?
Ruby?
Uh-huh.
They got along good. A lot of women liked him, but Ruby, she's special.
Ruby sleep around?
What kind of question is that?
You gonna answer it?
Well, she wasn't sleeping with me, if that's what you mean.
What sort of person was Zachary Barnes?
Well, he knew how to be around people, especially a crowd. He had a kind of glow about him. But when you were alone with him, he didn't talk much. He'd just page through art books, look at paintings or something. first I thought it was just me. You didn't take me seriously. Didn't want me around.
Why not?
I was Tobin's helper mostly. But one day, a couple months ago, we talked about art. And I realized that quiet part of him, just looking at those paintings, that was what was important to Zach.
Mm-hmm. What about his wife, Yvonne?
I didn't know her much. She's very beautiful, but she has a way of smiling like she's looking at somebody else. She knows a lot of fancy people.
What were your duties at the gallery?
Well, most of my work was for Tobin. I washed brushes, stretched canvas, gesso canvas.
Did you do any work for Mr. Barnes?
Cleaned up the gallery, poured wine at the openings, hung shows.
But mostly you listened to Mr. Tobin, right?
Sure, what was I supposed to do?
Did he ever ask you to do anything that, maybe an ordinary person might question?
What do you mean? I'm an ordinary person.
Did he ever ask you to do anything illegal?
No.
Would you say your employer had a violent temperament?
Tobin?
Yeah, Tobin.
Not that I know of.
Did you ever hear him threaten to kill anybody?
No. You know, you're not very subtle.
Hey, honey. Subtle's not my job. How's your leg?
The medic said it would be okay.
We'll get you to the hospital for x-rays. Do you mind telling me what happened today?
Well, Zach, my business partner, came at me with a gun this morning and told me that he was going to kill me.
Those were his exact words?
Well, I don't remember his exact words. Zach and I were supposed to have a business meeting this morning, and I was over there, I was finishing up my coffee, and I look up and he's coming at me with a gun. Well, I bolted up out of my chair and he fired. I mean, thank God I did, or the bullet would have killed me. It just hit my leg. Oh, God, this has been a nightmare.
So, how far away was he when he fired?
Well, he must have been pretty close, because I managed to grab the gun out of his hand. We started to struggle, and I hit my leg on the coffee table and the glass shattered, and then the gun went off for a second time, and hitting him, I guess, in the throat. And then there was blood everywhere, and God, this is...
Inspector, we should get this man to the hospital. Yeah, all right. I'll be talking to you, Mr. Tobin.
Yeah, okay.
Be appointed to represent you before any questioning if you wish one. Do you understand each of these rights I've explained to you?
I have nothing to hide.
The doctor tells me the bullet didn't hit any bone.
Yeah, I guess I was lucky.
Yeah, I guess so. Listen, I had a chance to talk to the other witnesses.
Oh?
Yeah. Yvonne Barnes, the deceased wife. I understand she and your girlfriend were out together this morning.
Yeah, that's right. But they came back early, and Yvonne found us lying on the gallery floor. And she started wailing.
Wait. I got some confusion here. Miss Barnes says that she saw you in the alleyway just a few minutes before she got back inside. That you ran in the back door.
No, she's mistaken.
She says that she saw you very clearly.
Well, it's obvious that the trauma has left her completely confused. I wasn't in the alley.
So, Barnes owned a gun?
I told you I never saw the gun before he pulled it on me.
Never?
Zach talked about getting a gun. Hey, I thought that's all it was, just talk, just to scare me.
Why would he want to scare you?
Well, Zach had a scheme going with the art insurance, and he tried to pull me in on it, but I wouldn't. So he was afraid that he was going to lose his little art gallery and have to rely 100% on his wife's career. And ultimately, he was a real loser. I am telling you that Zach brought the gun. Zach tried to kill me right there in the gallery. I don't know anything about those.
How about the cash box?
The cash box?
It was on the floor, upside down, next to Zach's body. How'd it get there?
I don't know. I don't remember seeing it there.
Mr. Tobin, did you happen to notice those bags the police put over the hands of the victim?
Yes.
Do you know what they're for?
DNA samples?
No. They're to keep the hands from becoming contaminated. If Zachary Barnes fired a gun this morning, if he pulled a trigger, there'll be some residue on his hands that'll show up in our tests. But if his hands are clean, I'm going to charge you with murder.
I lied. What I told you before wasn't true. I mean, not all of it. I was so scared. I didn't think that anyone would believe me.
Well, tell me what really happened, and I don't want any crap this time.
Zach and I were having problems in our business. But I didn't realize that he was so desperate. He did bring a gun to our meeting, just like I said. And he pointed it at me, just like I said.
And shot you in the leg?
No. No, Zach didn't shoot me. The first shot was the one that killed him. You see, he came at me, and I was able to get the gun, and it went off. That's the total truth.
I see. Your own leg, how did that happen?
With everything that's been happening lately, I didn't think that anyone would believe that Zach would attack me. So I don't know, I panicked, I guess. I wanted it to make it look like it was self-defense. So I shot myself in the leg.
You shot your own self in the leg? Listen, Mr.
Yes,
Jones.
I admit it. It sounds insane, I know, but I pulled the barrel close and I just shot so it would graze. I mean, who else, for God's sake, could have pulled the trigger? You'll see that I'm telling you the truth.
Tell me a little bit more about the problems you and Zach were having.
I think that I better see a lawyer.
Yes, Mr. Tobin. I think you better.
James Tobin killed my husband. I know it in my heart.
Is there anything I can get for you, Miss Barnes? A glass of water? Or...
Did you hear what I said?
Yeah. Did you witness the shooting?
No, I was in the alley. When I turned the corner, I saw James outside the back door of the gallery.
Do you remember what he had on?
Very clearly. He had on a black shirt, and he was carrying some kind of stick in one hand and a yellow bundle or something in the other. He saw me coming. At least I think he saw me, and he hurried back inside. And then he locked the door.
You don't have a key?
Yes, but he double locked it. I had to really dig for the second key. And while I was sorting through the things in my bag, I heard a shot, and I rushed in.
You're absolutely sure the man you saw in the alley was James Tobin?
Absolutely.
And did he appear to have been wounded?
No, absolutely not. On the floor, on the main gallery, they were both there, James and my husband. James was clutching his leg. Yvonne, he said, Yvonne, I've been shot. Zachary tried to kill me. Meanwhile, my husband, he was just...
Miss Barnes.
I rushed straight to Zach. I put my lips on his lips and my hands on his chest because I thought maybe with CPR I could save him. But there was so much blood.
What did you do next?
I was kneeling on something, I realized, underneath my skirt. And I thought at first it was Zach's hands or his fingers. And I reached down, and it was the gun James used to kill Zach. I pushed it away.
Could you describe that gun?
Yes, it was a large gun with a black handle.
Have you ever seen it before?
No, I haven't. How on earth would I have seen it?
How long have Mr. Tobin and your husband been in business together? I'm sorry if these questions...
No. In some odd way, these questions are comforting.
So how long were they in business?
10 years. We owned the building, the gallery itself, and Tobin had a long-term lease on the loft upstairs. His rent was next to nothing.
So what were the financial arrangements?
Zachary had exclusive rights to represent all James' work. They split sales 50-50. That was standard in the industry.
So how was business?
Zachary was a good businessman. James Tobin was not his only client.
Did the men have a good working relationship?
At one time, but things have been really stormy the last few years. James is a good artist, but he is completely full of himself. That dynamism, it did attract some people like Ruby Garcia. I was afraid something was going to happen.
Why?
Well, because ever since his divorce, he's been getting more and more difficult. He slept around, he had financial problems, he was struggling as an artist. And one week he would say, I'm leaving the gallery. The next week he would have fights with Ruby. The next there was something else. And then he blamed Zach for all his problems. To be honest, Zach made James' career. He knew how to promote his work. Except for that last group of paintings.
Why is that?
They were awful. No one in the world could have sold those.
Did you socialize with Tobin and his girlfriend?
Sometimes we went to dinner, occasionally at gallery openings. But to be honest, I saw more of James when he was married to Helen. She was a beautiful woman, but she just couldn't contend with his ways anymore.
Did you get along with Ms. Garcia?
We did some work together for the arts community. That was Zachary's idea, but we were both charmed by her. She had a certain naivete, but with real drive. After a while, I thought we had developed a sort of sisterly bond between us, but that was a mistake.
What do you mean?
She's not as innocent as she appears. Either that or she's completely under Tobin's thumb.
While I have you here, there are a few gaps I need filled in. The joys of paperwork, huh?
Certainly.
Your full name?
Yvonne Emmeline Barnes.
Occupation?
I work for the mayor, chief press liaison. Before that, I was with Channel 6 News. I used to cover tawdry stories like this.
I remember. You putting in long hours with the mayor?
Always. Zach used to complain he didn't see me enough.
Yeah. Well, how long is your current address?
7 years. Ever since we were married. I met him when I came out here from Baton Rouge. I was a graduate student in journalism. Zach and I, we loved each other every minute. And I know I can be a difficult woman.
Granger here.
So weird calling you on your cell phone. I have no picture of where you are.
I'm sitting at my desk at home.
Oh, yeah, sure you are. Listen, I just got some bad news. Turns out the gun used in the Barnes murder was registered to the deceased cousin, Darryl Barnes.
You're kidding.
Wish I was. And I can't find a way to trace it to Tobin. Oh, I gotta go. Bye.
Why are you going after Jimmy?
He's been charged with murder.
But it was self-defense, I'm sure.
Tell me about the theft.
It was a terrible blow. Shook everybody up.
What happened?
Well, nobody knows for sure. It's just, one morning we got up and went downstairs in the gallery. Someone had broken in. They took a straight razor and they cut the paintings right out of their frames.
Was anything else taken?
No. We think the thieves might go and sell the paintings in Europe. I don't know, maybe Japan or something.
Like a lot of people in this city, I think Jimmy's a very good painter. Can you describe the stolen works?
Well, they were part of his new series called The World is Burning. It's a big change from, bigger works, darker forms, more haunted. I liked him.
Was all of this series stolen?
No, he brought a couple up to the loft the night before. That's one. It's Jimmy's favorite.
I was just wondering, how'd the public respond to Jimmy's new work?
The public? They wanted his old work, more of the same. But Jimmy had to move forward as an artist.
Did the new painting sell?
No, and I think that's one of the reasons why he was so upset. But it's like you said, you have to paint what you feel.
Do you mind if I ask you some personal questions about finances?
I suppose.
I appreciate your help. Did the failure of Jimmy's paintings in the marketplace create a financial crisis around the gallery?
Jimmy took it hard. He was so used to everybody just loving his work, and then suddenly there was just no money coming in. It was hard.
For both Zach and Jimmy?
Yeah. Lately they'd gotten used to this certain lifestyle, They both had nice cars, and we'd eat out a lot, and there was this new house up at the river.
Were they desperate?
I didn't used to think so.
Could one of them have been involved in the theft?
I suppose it's possible.
Ruby, can you tell me where Jimmy was the night the paintings were stolen?
No, not really.
Are you sure?
Yes. Didn't you hear me?
Do you know if Zach owned a gun?
I don't know. It doesn't seem like something he'd have.
You might be relieved to hear the gun that killed Zachary Barnes was registered to his cousin.
The gun came from Zach's cousin?
I thought you'd be relieved, but you sound surprised.
I am relieved, I guess. It's just... Well, I went into Jimmy's cabinet the night before Zach died, and, well, this whole thing is just so confusing.
Think back and see if you can remember what you saw.
Upstairs, in Jimmy's work cabinet, next to the brushes on the middle shelf, I thought I saw something. A gun.
A gun? Well, where is this work cabinet? In the gallery?
No, upstairs in me and Jimmy's loft, in the painting studio.
When did you see it?
The night before Zach's death.
Could you identify that gun if you saw it?
I think so.
Did people like Zachary Barnes?
Yeah, everybody pretty much liked him. I think his personality was a big reason for the success of the gallery. Everybody just liked to hang around him and listen to him tell jokes.
Was he a good joke teller?
No, not really. They were always too corny. You want to hear a favorite? What did the snail say riding on the turtle's back?
I give up.
Whee!
Did Zach ever take an interest in your work?
Yeah, Zach really encouraged me.
It must have been hard for you being an artist in a relationship with someone as successful as Jimmy.
You mean being in a shadow? Sort of. That's why Zach kept saying he wanted to help me with my career. Till I blew it.
Did something happen between you two?
Yeah, it was no big deal. I had heard Jimmy was sleeping with someone. I mean, he's done this before, but this time it really got to me. And I decided this time if he could, I could.
And?
And so one night, I mean, I guess there's always been a sexual vibe between me and him, you know, but I took a bottle of tequila over to his loft, and supposedly we were supposed to talk about my career or something, and I knew his wife Yvonne was working late, and he and I did it.
Given what happened to Zach, do you feel getting involved with him was a mistake?
This is really hard for me to talk about. Jimmy is not a perfect person, but that didn't make it right for me to go and sleep with his partner. It's just like my mom used to say, I'm only always thinking of myself. If it hadn't been for me, none of this would have happened. Zach would still be alive. Jimmy wouldn't hate me. As a matter of fact, he wouldn't even be in jail. And Yvonne would still have a husband.
Ruby, it's ridiculous to blame yourself for everything that's happened.
Thanks. It's hard.
Did Jimmy ever find out about the affair?
Zachary wrote me a long note after we'd slept together. Jimmy caught me reading it. Sometimes I can be so stupid.
What was in the note?
I don't really know. I only got to read the beginning because Jimmy snatched it away.
Snatched it, so you never got to see what was in the note?
Yeah. Jimmy never let me see it, and I never got to talk to Zach about the note because he died before I could. Jimmy said the only reason he was ever friends with me was so he can get in my pants, but he was never like that. He was so nice to me. So was Yvonne. They were the only ones who ever encouraged me, ever. Nobody wanted me to be an artist. Not my family, not Jimmy, nobody. But he said my paintings were good, and he was going to help me get a show. What do you think the chances are that Jimmy will go to jail?
It's hard to say. A lot depends on what you say on the stand. You've reached the desk of Sterling Granger. Please leave.
1 new message.
Hello, this is James Tobin. My lawyer told me not to call you, but I had to tell you. I know Simon Lee stole the paintings. I saw him outside the gallery in costume. He was dressed up like the back of a horse or something. A week later, he's driving a new Kawasaki. When I take him aside, he tells me that Zach put him up to it for the insurance.
End of final message.
Thanks for waiting for me.
No problem.
I thought you quit this place to work at the gallery.
I did. But since the gallery folded, I had to come back.
No deliveries now?
No, things shut down at 7. I just want you to know that everyone thinks I'm on Tobin's side, but I'm not.
Why do they think that?
I don't know. I guess because I was his assistant and I had to do what he said.
Why?
Because he was my boss. I had to kiss his ass and make him think I was always on his side, which I wasn't.
Simon, did you stop by the Barnes Gallery the night Tobin's paintings were stolen?
Why?
It's likely to come up in court.
Yeah, I stopped by. I was out late with some friends. I wanted to borrow a few bucks from petty cash. They let me do that.
Was there anyone else in the gallery?
No.
I just got a phone message from Tobin. He said you stole the paintings.
He says I took them? He's full of it.
Why did he say it?
How should I know?
Tobin said Zach gave you the money for the bike.
Bull?
That was a payoff for stealing the paintings.
Oh, he's really out there. If I was getting paid, I'd want a hell of a lot more than a motorcycle. How dense does he think I am?
So how did you pay for it?
You know, not everyone spends their money on Armani clothes.
Simon, I've been straight with you, but I get the feeling you're hiding something.
Me? What would I be hiding?
I have no idea. But tell me, did you see or hear anything else regarding the theft?
No.
That's not the message Tobin left on his phone machine.
Well, Tobin's in jail. He'd try anything.
Did you ever see a gun in the Barnes Gallery?
I don't remember.
Simon, you're not a suspect in this case, so there's no need to worry. Now, can we continue?
No problem. But like I said, I just worked there and pretty much minded my own business.
Simon, I'm not in the mood for games. Did you ever see a gun in the gallery?
I'm not playing games.
We'll see.
Yeah. Zach's office in the drawer. It had silver facing and black grips.
You didn't mention this to Inspector Looper?
No, I was pretty upset.
Being shook up is no excuse for lying. Did you ever actually see Zachary with a gun?
Yeah.
When?
Monday night, a week before he died. He was standing at his desk and he unsnapped his briefcase and took a pistol out and slid it into his book.
What did you do?
I got out of there. I don't think he ever saw me.
Who'd you tell about the gun?
No one.
You didn't tell Tobin?
No.
If Zach brought the gun like you say, maybe Tobin's right, and we got the wrong man. Is that what you think?
No. I think Tobin can play just about anybody for a fool.
You too?
Sometimes.
Did Zach ever explain to you why he brought the gun to the office?
No, I never talked to Zach about it. Look, things were pretty tense around there. When Tobin said Zach was out to get him, and I believed it. At least I did then.
The way you describe it, you should have told your friend Tobin about the gun.
Why would I do that?
You say there's all this tension in the gallery, then Zach comes, stashes a gun in his office, but you don't warn your friend Tobin? Who's going to believe that?
Look, I'm not stupid. The police say Tobin plugged Zach with that gun.
So?
Everyone knows I was Tobin's slave, that I'd do just about anything he wanted. I mean, if I go to court and testify that I told Tobin about the gun, they were going to think that I was in on it.
Were you?
See?
There's a good chance before this thing's over, Tobin will tell us the whole story. What'll you do then?
I don't know.
Simon, do you know anything about a letter Zachary Barnes wrote to Ruby Garcia?
Yeah, I was the one who gave it to her.
You?
Ruby called me, said Zach had something for her, and could I pick it up on the way to work?
You know what was in the letter?
No.
So you gave it to her?
Yeah, she was really excited. She took it in the next room and started reading it. I got a little pissed.
Why?
I don't know. Guess I didn't want to be their little love messenger.
Why do you call yourself a love messenger? I thought you said you didn't know what was in the letter. Simon, you opened it, didn't you?
No.
You were jealous, right?
No. Zachary didn't even
Yeah, you had a crush on Ruby, didn't you?
No, I opened it, and this is the truth, because James told me to start looking out for stuff.
What do you mean?
Well, Zach had been acting kind of weird lately, at least that's what James thought, and he wanted me to keep an eye on him.
Did James Tobin know about this letter?
Yeah. He caught Ruby upstairs reading it, and they had a big fight.
You were in the room?
No, I was downstairs in the gallery. But I could hear them above me arguing, especially James.
But you didn't actually see it?
No, but I saw James afterwards, downstairs. He was all worked up and red in the face. He put his head up against the wall and punched a hole in it with his fist.
Did he say anything?
Yeah. He said Zach has been screwing Ruby and he's going to be very sorry. And then he wiped the vase off his desk and I got my butt out of there.
Simon, you told a very different story to Inspector Looper the night of the murder.
Well, that was a bad time, right? I mean, I was James's friend. I didn't want to believe he really killed somebody.
What made you change your mind?
Ruby. She came over to my place after the murder, after we'd been interviewed by that inspector. We talked for a long time, almost till morning. It was real sad. She said Tobin pushed her around after he read the letter Zach wrote. I felt like a real bastard.
Why?
Because after I delivered the letter to Ruby, I told James about it. That's what started the fight. Otherwise, he would have never known about Ruby and Zach.
Simon, did you ever tell Ruby what you did?
Of course not. What am I going to say? That I was Jimmy's little toad? That I was spying on her?
Don't worry, she won't be in the courtroom while you're testifying.
What, are you crazy? She'd hear about it.
Simon, how are you going to feel if Tobin gets away with what he did?
I don't give a damn what happens to that asshole. All right, I'll think about it.
Simon, I'm going to insist you tell the full story in court. Do I have your cooperation?
I don't know. I really don't want...
I don't care what you want. Your job on that stand is to tell the truth.
Yeah.
That's all I have now, Simon. I just hope you get this all sorted out by the time you're called to testify.
Hey, I can't wait.
Hello.
You're on your way to see Miss Barnes, right? I just wanted to remind you that we found Jimmy marks on the back alley door right after the crime.
Did you photograph the marks?
Are you crazy? I just took the whole jam.
What's a jam?
You know, the door frame.
You took it?
The whole damn jam.
No kidding.
So long.
How do you do? I'm Yvonne Barnes. Please have a seat. Mr. Granger, I trust your office received my letter.
Yes.
You know the theft that took place at Barnes Gallery last February. I have no doubt it led to my husband's murder.
Miss Barnes, let's talk about what reasons Tobin may have had to kill your husband.
To me, James' motives were quite clear. He was covering the insurance fraud Zachary had found out about. In my opinion, the sordid rumors in the press about an affair are not really relevant, and I'd just as soon not talk about that any further. Can we start with my letter?
Your letter was very helpful, Miss Barnes. Let's explore some of the details.
Thank you.
You mentioned in your letter that Tobin threatened your husband's life.
Oh yes, one evening about a week before the murder, Zachary and I were supposed to go to dinner at Zuni, so I drove by the gallery to pick him up. He and Tobin were having a very loud discussion.
About what?
Well, I only heard the end. Tobin was yelling at Zach. He said, "If you go public with the insurance thing, that'll be the end of this gallery." And Zachary responded very calmly. He hardly ever raised his voice. He said, "The gallery will survive." And Tobin yelled back, "Not if you don't."
You heard him clearly?
Oh yes, he was threatening my husband's life.
Didn't the gallery have a sophisticated alarm system?
Oh yes, but supposedly there'd been a lot of false alarms.
Why didn't you have it fixed?
Zachary said money was tight right now.
But I thought the gallery was a huge success.
It was. But very few of Tobin's paintings sold at the last show, and that created a cash flow problem.
Was the alarm on the night of the theft?
No. Tobin turned it off. He said he was sick of it going off. After the robbery, Zach and I were both suspicious.
Is there anything else about the theft that you'd like to add?
No, nothing at all.
You're aware, I assume, that James Tobin admitted to firing the gun that killed your husband.
Yes, I read the papers.
He claims it was self-defense and that your late husband was plotting to kill him.
That's completely odious. The very thought of him... Look, Tobin arranged that meeting with Zach. He planned to kill my husband and then use the racetrack as an alibi. Things fell apart when I got back early.
Ms. Barnes, do you have any proof that Tobin set up the meeting?
Yes, I heard the conversation.
But there's no hard evidence, like a note from Tobin or anything.
No, they weren't in the habit of corresponding.
What happened when you returned?
Ruby had just dropped me off when I saw Tobin in the alley outside the gallery doing something by the door. He'd already killed Zachary by then.
Remember any details?
Distinctly. He was carrying a yellow-like bag or bundle and a big club. He was wearing a black t-shirt with the gallery logo.
What happened next in the street?
After he spotted me, he went inside, panicked, and shot himself. That was the shot I heard.
If he had a gun, why on earth would Tobin need a club?
You think I made it up?
Well, can Ruby testify that he had a club?
No, she was still parking the car.
Uh-huh. Are you sure it was a club?
No, I was some distance away.
Did you know there were fresh crowbar marks found in the door jamb?
He was faking a break-in. That was a crowbar he had.
You're right. You should be writing murder mysteries.
This isn't a murder mystery. You know, that's why the place was in such disarray.
But Tobin is going to claim the mess was all a result of the brawl he and Zach had.
Oh, he's lying. A fight between them could account for the broken table and the mess, but why was the cash box lying out?
I'm having trouble with your description of Tobin's shirt.
I don't understand. Are you suggesting I'm making this up?
No, not at all. You said you saw him in a black t-shirt that morning, but we know that he was arrested in a yellow dress shirt.
You're right. That's odd.
Remember, it was splattered with blood?
I have a clear image of him standing there in that black shirt and carrying that bundle.
Yvonne, what color was the bundle?
Yellow. My God, Tobin changed shirts. He had to change because it got Zach's blood on the other shirt. He changed into one of the black t-shirts from the box.
You're right. Then he probably wrapped the gun in the yellow shirt and went outside.
He is such an evil, calculating man. After spotting me, he went back inside. As my husband lay there dying, he was figuring out that story he told me about this big fight they'd supposedly had. That's when he put the gun on the floor and changed into the yellow shirt. That son of a...
What can you tell me about Zachary's cousin, Daryl Barnes?
Mr. Granger, I have a question of my own first. Am I right to assume you have a pretty good case?
We had a very good case until I learned the murder weapon was registered to Daryl Barnes.
But there's a plethora of evidence.
Miss Barnes, please give me some background on Daryl.
He's a nice guy, city police officer.
Has Tobin ever met him?
I doubt it.
So Tobin's never been to Daryl's house?
No.
How do you think Tobin got the gun?
I'd like to help you, but I don't know how he got the gun. Is it really that important?
Believe me, it's important.
But why? He's admitted to pulling the trigger. We know he lied to the police. It's obvious he's guilty.
Miss Barnes, you do understand that to get a conviction, we must tie the murder weapon to the defendant.
Well, there's something I haven't told you. I borrowed the gun from Daryl and brought it here to the loft.
A city police officer loaned you his gun? I must say, I have a hard...
It wasn't his service revolver. I took it without asking. He and his wife were on vacation, and I had a key.
So how did Tobin end up with it?
Zachary didn't want it in the house. He disliked guns, and he said we should take it to the gallery for safekeeping until he could return it to Daryl.
And?
Tobin must have stolen it from his office at the gallery.
Miss Barnes, are you sure this story is accurate?
Yes.
It's very important.
I've given you everything about the gun you need. Mr. Granger, I'd like you to be aware of my situation.
I understand. Losing your husband and now having to go through this whole...
You can't begin to imagine how all this feels. You are aware I work as the mayor's press officer.
Yes.
The mayor has told me that this whole thing reflects poorly on his administration. And I have to say, next to Zach, my career is the most important thing in my life. So, if you need the emotional, weepy widow in the courtroom, I will not be able to oblige. I intend to maintain complete control of myself at all times.
Well, thank you for your candor. Thank you for your time, Miss Barnes.
You're welcome. I want nothing more than to see justice done.
I will do my best.
I hope it's good enough.
Me too. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Hello.
Hello, is this Mr. Granger?
Yes? Who is
I
this,
just
please?
visited Jimmy in jail and we had a long talk. I see now that he's been telling me the truth all along about what a son of a bitch Zach was.
Ruby, just try to calm down. Exactly.
You used against us.
Ruby, all I ask of you in court is that you tell the truth.
Truth? What the hell is truth? All you lawyers know how to do is twist the truth and turn it into lies. Why can't everybody just leave us alone?
This is Yvonne Barnes. With whom am I speaking, please?
Granger here. Hello, Miss Barnes. How are you?
Mr. Granger, regarding our interview.
Yes?
I wanted to call and say I felt badly about it in that I don't think I was entirely forthcoming.
Really? Forthcoming about what?
Let's just leave it at that. You have to understand how difficult this has been for me on so many levels. I just want to lend you my support and let you know I am prepared to do my best in court.
Well, thank you very much.
Goodbye, Mr. Granger.
Bye.
Frank, how's Tobin fared these last few months in jail?
As you know, the defendant has not been allowed any contact with the press, but his attorney said he's doing well and is also anxious to clear his good name and get on with his life.
And can you characterize the mood of the prosecution?
Laura, with the trial beginning tomorrow, Granger and his staff are, of course, projecting confidence, but Granger would not comment on record about his chances of getting a first-degree murder conviction.
Frank, you'll be covering the whole trial for us, right?
You bet, Laura. Camped out at City Hall for as long as it takes.
Well, good luck. Channel 2 will be providing the most extensive coverage of the trial. We'll have live reports from the courtroom and expert analysis of each day's events, so stay tuned. Coming up now, can't figure out what to do with those little plastic clips that come on bread bags? Stephanie Chu will tell us about a recycling program in the East Bay when we come back.
Hello.
Hi, Mr. Granger. This is Frank Somerville. I'm covering the trial for Channel 2. I know you don't want to make a public statement, but I was wondering if you'd care to comment. It'll be entirely off the record on what you think your chances are on the murder charge.
Frank, I'm happy to tell you that I'm supremely confident we'll win this case. We'll get a verdict in the first degree. Or I'll buy you and Laura dinner.
That's chutzpah. I wish you luck tomorrow. See ya.
This case was commenced by the people of the state of California against the defendant, James Henry Tobin. The state is charging him with grand theft and murder in the first degree. The defendant has pleaded not guilty to each charge. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the defendant is presumed innocent until the contrary is proved. But the effect of this is only to place upon the state the burden of proving him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. You will decide no issue in this case until you have heard all of the evidence, instructions of law, and the arguments. And you are ordered not to discuss this case with anyone under any conditions. You will now hear the statements of counsel. Do the people wish to make any opening statement?
Ladies and gentlemen, on March 16th of this year, James Tobin shot his business partner to death. No one, not even the defendant, disputes this fact. They will claim self-defense, but the people will show you how Mr. Tobin lured his partner to the gallery that morning. His pretense? To salvage their business. But such was not James Tobin's intention, because as he walked into the gallery that day, he had a gun in his pocket, an alibi on his mind, and murder in his heart. If not self-defense, what motive? Pride, greed, fear. Pride in his disbelief that his career was stumbling. Greed in his theft of his own paintings for the insurance. Zachary Barnes, caught between his loyalty to his business partner and his belief in the truth, had asked James Tobin to withdraw the fraudulent claim. And fear in that he'd be exposed. So, James Tobin decided to murder Zachary Barnes. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is indeed intent to kill. And there was yet another motive. James Tobin discovered his girlfriend was sleeping with the deceased. An aging man, a beautiful young woman, oldest motive in the world. Sexual jealousy. He flew into a rage. He beat her, and then with the cold, calculating mind of a desperate man, began plotting to kill her lover, the late Zachary Barnes. In all my years as a prosecutor, I have never before been in a situation.
We have here tonight our legal specialist who, for the duration of the trial, will be sharing with us his professional insights. Dr. Richard Fleece, professor of law at CSU. Dr. Fleece.
The anxiously awaited trial began today with a dramatic opening statement by the prosecution and then followed by what I thought was an effective rebuttal from the defense attorney, Cynthia Charlson.
Can you tell us a little bit about her?
Mr. Tobin is in very good hands. Cynthia Charlson is seen by many as an unflinching and extremely aggressive adversary. She's won innumerable defense cases, including the famous tainted baby food trial. Just a few moments ago, we caught up with her and asked her how she felt about her chances.
Ultimately, the jury will find my client innocent. This case should never have come to trial, but now, with all the publicity, they don't dare turn back.
Tomorrow, the main phase of the trial begins with the prosecution calling its first witness.
Thank you, and we look forward to your coming analysis. Stay tuned to Channel 2 News, your trial headquarters.
Good morning. Will the prosecution please call its first witness?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do.
Please be seated.
Did you witness an argument between your husband and the defendant Tuesday before the murder?
Yes. I walked into the gallery and Tobin was yelling at my husband. There was a wooden chair broken between them.
What did James Tobin say to your husband?
He was yelling, "If you go public with this insurance fraud, it'll be the end of the gallery." Zach responded, "The gallery will survive." And Tobin moved forward and pointed his finger in his face and yelled, "The gallery may survive, but you won't."
And then?
I stepped between them. I wanted to get Zach out of there.
Was the gallery alarm system functioning at the time of the theft?
No, it had been turned off.
At whose direction?
James Tobin's.
Did the defendant give you a reason?
Yes. He said it had been going off sporadically without warning. He said we should turn it off until we could get it fixed.
Was it ever checked out?
Oh yes, immediately after the theft I called. The repair woman said she had worked on it and couldn't get it to malfunction once. I still have her paperwork.
Ms. Barnes, wasn't your husband a co-beneficiary in the policy that covered the paintings?
Yes.
What was the amount of money he was due to receive?
I'm not sure, but I resent this line of questioning.
Ms. Barnes, please.
All that's left is his good name. Now you want to ruin that?
I'll withdraw the question. Was the gallery a financial success?
Oh, absolutely. It was one of the most successful small galleries on the West Coast.
Had it been profitable recently?
No.
Why?
James Tobin, completely against everyone's advice, changed his style of painting. His last show didn't sell well, and that created a cash flow problem for Zachary.
Wasn't this crisis so serious that your late husband feared losing the business?
I suppose.
Would Zach's share of the insurance money have saved the gallery?
Yes. Why?
In fact, Miss Barnes, couldn't your husband have been involved in the theft?
Objection calls for a... On second thought, objection withdrawn. No. The answer is no, and I have proof.
Proof?
Just before the fight, I heard a message on the answering machine. I kept the tape.
Objection. It's ridiculous.
Your Honor, this is just as much a surprise to me as...
The witness will surrender the tape and the court will recess to consider admissibility.
Zach, this is James. If you get the message...
James. Sorry, let me click this damn thing off. How the hell with it? It just keeps
Listen,
going.
Zach, you can't do this. If word gets around, it won't be just me in trouble. We'll both lose frickin' everything. You just take your share of the money and shut up.
I can't do that.
Zach, don't you get self-righteous with me. Word of this will not get out, because if it does, then you will...
On the morning of March 13th at approximately 9 a.m., you and Miss Garcia left the gallery to go to a meeting, is that correct?
Yes.
And the two of you returned early because the meeting was canceled?
Postponed, correct.
And Miss Garcia dropped you off and went to park the car?
Yes, I was about a block away in the alley behind the gallery.
Please describe for the jury what you saw at that point.
I saw James Tobin outside the back door of the gallery jimmying it with a crowbar. He saw me coming, so he went back
Objection.
in.
Speculation.
Sustained.
Could you see what he was wearing?
Yes, he was wearing a black t-shirt with the gallery logo on back.
In your initial interview, you told Inspector Looper that Tobin also had a yellow bundle. Can you tell me what that bundle actually was?
I'm out of patience, Mr. Granger. Limit your questions to what the witness saw. The jury will draw the conclusions.
What happened next?
I heard a shot from inside as I came to the door, so I unlocked it and went inside.
What did you see there?
My husband's body lying crumpled on the ground. Tobin lying nearby holding his leg and moaning.
And what was the physical state of the gallery?
The tabletop had been broken. There were shards of glass everywhere. Some of them lying in the pool of my husband's blood. And I remember a cash box lying upside down on the floor.
What did you do?
I tried to help my husband, then called 911.
Did the defendant explain what happened?
Yes. As soon as I opened the door and saw Zach, Tobin started explaining about the fight he and Zach had, about how the table got broken and how he got shot.
Did he explain why the cash box was on the floor?
No, he couldn't explain that. It didn't fit in with his new fight story. It was left over from his attempt to fake the break-in.
Miss Barnes, did you have knowledge of any firearms kept on the premises of the Barnes Gallery?
Yes, the one that killed my husband.
Was this your gun?
No, I borrowed it from my husband's cousin, Daryl. A Vietnamese woman across the way was attacked, and I felt I needed it for protection.
Did you discuss this with your husband?
Yes, he became quite upset and insisted that we take it down to the gallery for safekeeping.
Did he tell you where he put it?
Yes, in his office desk in a drawer.
If it pleases the court, I would like to read a few lines from Inspector Looper's interrogation of the defendant, Mr. Tobin, conducted on the afternoon of the murder.
The defense objects. How is this possibly relevant?
Your Honor, it reflects on the witness's understanding of the significance of the line of questioning and therefore her motive to tell the truth.
All right, objection overruled.
I read from page 15 of the transcript wherein the defendant says, quote, Zach had a scheme going with the art insurance. He was trying to get me to go along, but I wouldn't. So he was afraid he'd lose his little gallery and have to rely 100% on his wife's career. Ultimately, he was a real loser. I'm telling you, Zach brought the gun. Zach tried to kill me in cold blood. Unquote. Do you understand what's at stake in this trial?
Counselor, do not patronize me. Yes, I do.
Do you understand that the defendant in this case admits he killed Mr. Barnes?
Yes,
but
I do.
What's at stake here likely revolves around who brought the weapon to the murder site?
I understand.
Ms. Barnes, I will ask you once again, do you know how the gun belonging to your cousin got to the gallery?
I brought it.
And why did you bring it?
I brought it to threaten my husband.
Your husband?
Yes.
Could you tell us why you intended to threaten your husband?
I found out he'd been sleeping with Ruby. He'd written her a letter on the computer and I came across it accidentally.
Did you speak to him about it?
Not at first. Zachary's cousin, Daryl, the police officer, he and his family were in Hawaii on vacation. And we'd been watching the place for them, so I went over there to be alone.
What did you do there?
I called Zach. He denied everything. He'd never lied to me before. So I got a gun. I got the gun that Daryl kept in the cedar box under his bed. I don't know what I plan to do with it. Shoot myself, shoot Zach, whatever. When I got home, Zach was staring down into his lunch. I remember a bowl of tomato soup and a cheese sandwich. We looked at each other for a long moment, and then we both burst into tears. We talked for hours. I don't know if I'd ever felt closer to him. Then I remembered the gun and told him about it.
What was his reaction?
He couldn't believe it. He laughed and said he was going to tell the mayor on me. He said, I didn't realize you was Sister 45. Zach didn't want a gun in the house. So he suggested that we take it down to the gallery until I could get it back to Daryl. He really did hate guns.
No more questions, Your Honor.
Defense, do you have any questions for this witness?
Yes, Your Honor. Miss Barnes, did you see your husband take the gun into the gallery?
I saw him leave our loft with it, yes.
But did you see him actually go into the gallery with it?
I didn't follow him across the street, if that's what you mean.
Do you recognize this shirt?
Yes, it's Tobin's. He wore it the morning of the crime.
Alleged crime, Miss Barnes.
Call it what you will.
Ladies, please.
You'll notice it's yellow, or more accurately, ochre. Yet you say he had on a black t-shirt.
He put on the black shirt after he killed Zach. He certainly couldn't wear the bloody one outside, so he took it off and used it to hide the gun on his way to dump both of them. When I saw him outside the door, he went back into the gallery and changed into that shirt again.
Preposterous! When was there time for him to change shirts? You followed him right into the gallery.
As a matter of fact, there was plenty of time. I had to walk about a block, then I had to open the door, which I found out Tobin had double locked. By the time I looked in the bottom of my bag
Miss
to find
Barnes,
the
thank you.
second
You've
key.
answered the question. Now I have another. When you went into the gallery, you saw evidence of a fight, correct?
No, there was no fight. Tobin killed Zach and afterward made it look as though there'd been a
Please,
fight.
Miss Barnes, just answer the questions.
This story of yours about Tobin playing dress-up and faking both a struggle and a break-in is entertaining, but you don't have any evidence to support it, do you? No, just what I saw.
Granger, you gotta put me up there.
Remember last time Charleston cross-examined you? You broke into tears.
Oh, bull doo-doo.
What?
BS, you made that up.
No more questions, Your Honor. I'm done with the witness.
Well, that's all for today. Court is adjourned until tomorrow. And, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, let me once again admonish you not to discuss this case with anyone, not even your family. You know if something leaks out to them.
It was a day of surprises at the trial, Frank.
You bet it was. The widow and mayor's press secretary, Miss Yvonne Barnes, dropped a bombshell when she produced a sensational tape of the accused actually threatening her husband.
Had it been entered into evidence?
No, it came as a complete surprise. She had apparently been keeping this phone message a secret because it implicated her husband as well as Tobin in an art theft scam.
Why did she produce it at all?
Hard to say, Laura, but I think the prosecutor was able to convince her that if she held anything back, her husband's murderer might walk.
So she spilled everything?
She sure did.
Anything else?
Through extremely skilled examination by the prosecution, Ms. Barnes was coached into telling a riveting story of how the defendant tried to cover up the alleged murder by faking a break-in.
This might help with a first-degree conviction, correct?
It certainly could, because it implies premeditation.
Thank you, Frank. We are joined by Channel 2's own legal expert, Dr. Fleece. In your assessment, how did it go today?
Granger displayed an extraordinary display of legal acumen and courtroom skills in getting Yvonne Barnes to admit that she was the one who brought the murder weapon to the murder scene. I saw 12 jurors' jaws drop.
Thank you, Dick. This is Channel 2, news you can use. How have the civil wars raging all over the world affected weapon stocks? When we come back, Channel 2's business reporter with some tips.
Does the prosecution wish to call another witness?
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please be seated.
Mr. Lee, did you stop by the Barnes Gallery on February 25th, the night the defendant's paintings were stolen?
Yeah, I stopped by. It was around 3 a.m. The place was dark.
What were you doing there?
Well, I was out late with some friends, you know, having a good time. I needed some money for some grub, so I left a voucher and petty cash.
Was anyone else present in the gallery at the time?
No.
Did you see or hear anything that aroused your suspicions?
No, I didn't know a robbery had taken place.
Did anyone at any time keep a gun on the premises of the Barnes Gallery?
Yes. Zachary Barnes had one. In a drawer in his office, locked up. Had a big fat barrel.
What color was it?
Silver.
Do you remember any other identifying detail?
Yes, it had Smith & Wesson stamped on the barrel. I remember I was at work that night and I saw him from across the room. He unsnapped his briefcase and slid a pistol into his drawer and locked it.
Did you tell the defendant about the gun?
No.
Did you ever see that gun again?
No, never.
When you saw Zachary in his office holding the gun, was he about as far away from you as I am now?
I don't know, maybe a little further.
And you never saw the gun again?
No.
What kind of chewing gum is this?
I don't know. I don't remember which one has the blue pack.
It's Beeman's, Mr. Lee. Good old-fashioned brand. Now, you couldn't read the bold, oversized type on this package. How could you possibly read Smith & Wesson on a gun from across the room?
I don't know.
Would you like to reconsider your statement that you never saw the gun again? I'm going to ask you again, Mr. Lee. Did you go back and take a second look at the gun in the deceased's office?
Yeah, I went back. I looked at it again and saw the words on the barrel.
Did you go by yourself?
I can't remember.
You can't remember? That's ridiculous.
Listen, I didn't know what Tobin was going to do with the damn gun. I had no idea.
Now slow down, please, and just tell us the story from the beginning.
Like I said, I saw Zach bring a gun into the gallery. I was worried what he might be planning because there was so much garbage going on between him and Tobin. So I told Tobin about the gun. I thought I should warn him. So we got the extra key and unlocked the drawer and I showed it to him.
How'd he react?
I couldn't tell, really, if he was excited or mad, but he mumbled something, I think, like, "Good work, Simon, I'm glad to have this."
Did you ever hear the defendant mention the affair between Zachary Barnes and Ruby Garcia?
Yeah, I heard him and Ruby.
When was this?
A couple days before the murder. They were in their apartment, upstairs from the gallery where I was. But I wouldn't call it a conversation. James was yelling his head off at Ruby.
What did he say?
He said he had just discovered a love letter from Zach, and he was mad as hell, yelling threats and stuff.
I'd like to establish the order of events, Mr. Lee. First, did you actually see this letter?
Yeah, Zach gave it to me to give to Ruby at the loft.
Was the defendant home?
Well, he was coming up to the loft and I passed him on the stairs on my way down after I delivered the letter.
What happened next?
Well, Tobin busted through the bathroom door. He caught Ruby reading the letter and he grabbed it from her and started pushing her around. And she was screaming.
Objection. Hearsay. How could he know this? The witnesses testified he was not in the room.
I could hear her. Besides, Ruby told me.
Your Honor.
The witness will confine himself to answering questions.
She asked a question.
Questions from the examining attorney. And he will not be a wise guy in my court.
Did you happen to open the letter and read it?
I glanced at it.
Why?
Because I was looking out for my boss. Well, we were friends, and I was a little paranoid what Zach might be up to.
Did you tell the defendant about the contents of the letter?
Yeah, I told him, but I wish I didn't.
When did you tell him?
Right after I gave Ruby the letter when I ran into him on the staircase.
And what happened next?
He went into the loft and he and Ruby started fighting.
Did you see the defendant again that day?
Yeah. About a half hour later downstairs when he put a hole in the wall with his fist and cleared everything off his desk, including a new vase of flowers. It broke.
He say anything?
Yeah, he said Zachary was a real bastard to be getting it on with Ruby and he was going to make him very sorry.
You asked what he meant by that?
You crazy?
No more questions, Your Honor.
Defense, do you have any questions for this witness?
Yes, Your Honor. Did you ever see Mr. Tobin in possession of a gun that Zachary Barnes kept in his office?
No.
Did Mr. Barnes ever mention the gun was missing from its drawer?
No.
So Zachary Barnes was the last person in possession of the weapon?
I don't know. Like I said, the last time I saw the gun was on Tuesday when I showed it to James. It was weird. I remember he touched me on the shoulder, and when I think about it, it gives me a chill.
A chill?
Yeah. I realized I gave Tobin what he needed, a way to kill Zach.
Mr. Lee, on the night that you delivered the deceased's letter to Ms. Garcia, did you actually see her and James Tobin quarreling?
No, but I heard him.
You were one story below. Could you actually make out the substance of their conversation?
Well, James was yelling pretty loud.
But could you decipher his exact words?
I could decipher that he was out of control.
Quiet down, please.
I'm done with the witness.
Well, that's all for today. Court is adjourned.
And in news of the trial today, Simon Lee, an ex-employee of the accused, testified. Richard, fill us in about Mr. Lee.
Simon Alphonsus Lee had only a brief career at the galleries of Gopher, and since the notoriety of the trial, he's achieved minor celebrity status among the south of Market rave scene. And if the prosecution was hoping to use Lee to place Tobin at the scene of the theft, they failed miserably.
Dick, if there's a murder charge, why does either side care about the minor charge of larceny?
2 reasons. He may be found innocent of murder, in which case the larceny charge would become the more important. And 2, if effective evidence is presented on the larceny charge, it will influence the jury's perception of innocence because it provides a credible motive.
Well, how about that murder charge?
Prosecution performed brilliantly. Clearly, Granger knew what he wanted out of this witness, and with the skill of a surgeon, he went in and pulled it out.
Like a gallbladder, huh? Well, it's always exciting to watch a pro. Thank you, Richard. Coming up, the Marin Citizens Tax Board is protesting the IRS ruling that ski equipment donated to the homeless is not tax deductible. The story when we come back.
Good morning. Will the prosecution please call another witness?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please be seated.
Where were you on the night the defendant's paintings were stolen from the Barnes Gallery?
I came home from school about 6. Jimmy seemed a little nervous.
Did the defendant leave the loft after dinner?
No. He went into the studio, and we ended up in bed at about 11.
Do you recall the defendant leaving the bedroom at any point during the night?
Yes.
At what time?
At about 3 o'clock in the morning. I woke up. Jimmy was coming in the bedroom door, and he had street clothes on. He had one of those wool, like, navy caps on.
Did the defendant explain to you what he was doing, wandering around, fully dressed in the middle of the night?
He said he heard a noise downstairs and went to investigate.
Did he tell you what he found?
He said he didn't find anything.
No? When did you come to learn the paintings were stolen?
The next morning. Jimmy left the loft early, on an errand or something. Zach came by all upset. Said someone had broken into the gallery and Jimmy's paintings were gone. Now that I think about it, that's really when the trouble between Zach and Jimmy started.
What else did Zachary say?
Well, first I told him what had happened the night before. How Jimmy had heard a noise and went downstairs to investigate. Well, I thought that the thief had hung out and hid until Jimmy left.
Did Zach respond?
Zach was suspicious. He goes to me, "What a stunt. Jimmy will never get away with this."
Did you tell the defendant about Mr. Barnes' suspicions?
Yeah, I told him.
And what was his reaction?
Jimmy lost it. He said Zach better keep his big ideas to himself real.
Or what?
I don't know. He didn't finish.
Did you ever know the defendant to keep a gun in his possession?
No.
Miss Garcia, you told me in an earlier interview that you'd seen a gun in Tobin's work cabinet in your loft apartment.
Yes, but when I went back and took a look, I saw I was mistaken. It was a pair of pliers.
You mistook a pair of pliers for a gun?
I guess so.
So you never saw a gun in the residence?
No.
Or knew about one?
No.
Or heard the defendant?
I told you, no.
Ms. Garcia, did you have an affair with the late Zachary Barnes?
Yes, but it was just a one-night stand.
Would the bailiff please give the witness evidence labeled Peoples 23, which was obtained from the computer of the late Zachary Barnes? Ms. Garcia, please read the beginning of the letter.
Out loud.
Out loud.
Dear Ruby Red, I want to talk to you about what happened between us the other night. The feelings are so strong, I can't think of anything else.
Ms. Garcia, did you ever get to read this letter before?
No.
Please tell the jury why.
'Cause Jimmy took it before I could read it.
Please continue reading the letter.
Ruby, I don't know what to believe anymore, but I've decided the least I could do is tell the truth. What I've told you then was true. I have very deep feelings for you. All right? I love you. I've said it.
Please continue.
But what we did last night was not right. I love my wife, Yvonne. We shouldn't have allowed things to go as far as they did. I don't know how I'll face her. And it's not fair to Jimmy either. He's made some mistakes, but deep down he's a good guy. And finally, Ruby, what should be important to you is your own work. Because it's good, and it can get lost in all this mess. Capiche? Love? Zach? Oh, God. I lied.
Please speak up if you can.
I lied! I've been lying.
Did you lie about the gun?
Yes. I saw it in Jimmy's work cabinet the night before Zach died.
What did it look like, Ruby?
It was silver with a black handle. I knew he put it there.
Objection, speculative.
You know he's guilty. How can you sit there and defend a man you know is
Your Honor.
He's a murderer.
That is the end of your
live
outburst,
with
Miss
yourself?
Garcia.
Your Honor, the prosecution requests that the witness be allowed to examine Peoples 11. Is this the weapon you saw in the defendant's work cabinet?
That's it. I recognize it because of the insignia and the tape on the back of the gun. I should have talked about it. I was just too afraid.
No more questions, Your Honor.
Defense, do you have any questions for this witness?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Garcia, the truth is you were indeed having an affair with the deceased at the same time you were living with James Tobin, correct?
Yes.
And did you and your lover discuss the theft before it took place?
My lover? Do you mean Zach or Jimmy?
You tell me, which one was it?
I don't understand the question.
I'll withdraw. Miss Garcia, isn't it true that you and Zachary Barnes planned to run off with the insurance money after James Tobin's paintings were stolen?
Objection.
Sustained.
No more questions, Your Honor.
Well, that's all for today. The witness may step down.
Key witness and girlfriend of the defendant, Ruby Garcia, testified today. And the prosecutor really got it right this time. The crafty court fox was back in form as he had the witness read a love letter from a man her boyfriend is accused of murdering. The jury was jolted, and there wasn't a dry eye in the house, as Ms. Garcia abandoned allegiances to the defendant by admitting that she saw the murder weapon on his person the night before the murder.
Sounds like a soap opera.
No, this is real.
Now, does the prosecution wish to call another witness?
And nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please be seated.
Did you find a broken glass tabletop near the body?
Yes.
Did the defendant say how it got broken?
Yes. He told me that he crashed into the table with his leg before Zach was shot as they were struggling for the gun.
Was the position of the shards of glass consistent with that story?
No. There were fragments of the table all over the ground and a few on the victim, but there was no glass under the victim's body. Therefore, the table was broken after Zach hit the ground.
Is the position of the glass consistent with the defendant intentionally breaking the table after Mr. Barnes was lying dead on the floor?
I can't say it was intentional, but there's no question the glass was broken after the body hit the floor.
Was there any evidence that indicated the table was broken as part of a struggle?
No. There was no evidence of a struggle.
Your Honor, would the bailiff please show the witness People's Evidence 17 and 18? Inspector Looper, can you tell the jury where you found item number 17?
This crowbar we found in the back room of the gallery on top of a red toolbox.
And number 18?
This door jamb we took off the back entrance to the gallery.
How old were the marks on the jamb when you first observed them?
Very new. There were still paint flakes from the jamb on the ground.
Would you insert the crowbar into the door jamb?
My pleasure. It's a match.
And did you find the defendant's fingerprints on the crowbar?
All over it.
Did you find other fingerprints on the crowbar?
Yes, there were a few from Simon and a few from Zach, but that only makes sense because they work there. But the overlays, the prints on top, were from the defendant.
No more questions, Your Honor.
Defense, do you have any questions for this witness?
Yes, Your Honor. Do you have any incentive to see my client go to jail?
Objection. What relevance?
No, that's okay. Yes. I like to see justice done.
When was the last time you had a promotion?
5 years ago. I was promoted to inspector.
The department has an incentive system for detectives based on the number of convictions, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
No more questions, Your Honor.
Will the prosecution please call another witness?
Your Honor, the people rest.
Very well. Will the defense please call its first witness?
The defense would like to call James Tobin to the stand. James, this past year, what was the financial health of the Barnes Gallery?
Well, to be honest, it was close to failing.
Did you and Mr. Barnes make plans to remedy the situation?
Zach did. He suggested that we arrange to have the paintings stolen from the gallery and collect the insurance.
Did you go along?
At first I did. We worked very hard to create the gallery. It was our lives. So one night I went in and I cut the paintings from the frames, and Zach had the canvases destroyed.
And what happened next?
Well, a few days later, I changed my mind. My conscience bothered me. It wouldn't let up. So I told Zach that we simply had to withdraw the claim. He refused several times.
Did this come up again on the day of the shooting?
Yes. I told him that if he didn't withdraw the claim, that I would go to the authorities first thing Monday morning.
Had Zachary Barnes ever threatened you with bodily harm?
Several times. Earlier in that same week, in fact, he had threatened to kill me.
James, were you aware that Zachary had been keeping a gun in his office drawer at the Barnes Gallery?
Yes. Simon told me. He also told me that Zachary had planned to use it against me, so I went down to his desk and I removed the gun. I put it in my work closet upstairs where I store my paints.
Did you bring that gun to the meeting between yourself and the deceased that morning?
I did.
Why?
I was afraid. And I had a right to be afraid. Because right there, as soon as I mentioned the theft, Zach yanked open the office drawer, looking for the gun. When he didn't find it, then he blew up, coming at me, screaming and threatening me. I drew the gun in self-defense, telling him to back off. But he just kept coming at me. He grabbed me and the gun went off. And that's just the way it happened. I wish it wasn't true, but it is.
Thank you, James. Your witness.
Prosecution, do you wish to cross-examine?
On Sunday, March 11th, you made a telephone call to Zachary Barnes, correct?
Well, I can't be sure about dates.
Certainly you remember this particular conversation. It was recorded on the phone machine and played here in court.
Well, that tape recording is inaccurate.
The tape was inaccurate?
Well, the context is inaccurate. I was trying to persuade Zach to withdraw the claim.
You were. Ms. Barnes testified that she overheard you threaten her husband's life later that same afternoon. So, in fact, you planned the murder. It was premeditated.
I told you I have never threatened Zachary's life. It's her word against mine.
Ms. Barnes was mistaken?
She's lying. The bitch is lying, that's all. The whole time that Zachary was alive, she was embarrassed by him. She would cover for him. And now that he's dead, then nothing has changed. She will do anything to protect her reputation, including see me convicted of something that I did not do. I am innocent!
Mr. Tobin, you admit bringing the gun to the gallery?
Yes.
This is a new story for you, is it not?
Yes, I guess so.
And where did you get this gun?
I already told you I got it from the drawer in Zach's desk.
Simon Lee mentioned this top drawer was locked. How'd you get in?
Well, I knew that the key was kept behind the mirror in the bathroom. It's the kind of drawer that locks automatically when you close it.
So if you want to open it, you've got to go get the key and unlock it?
Yes.
In your most recent version of what happened, you said Zach went to the gun drawer and yanked it open, scaring you.
Yes.
What did he do? Run into the bathroom, get the key, run back, insert it into the lock?
Maybe he reached down into the bottom drawer, or maybe he had the key all along. All I know is that I was scared and that I thought that he was reaching for the gun.
I thought you had the gun.
Well, no. Why are you trying to trap me? Can't you see that he's trying to trap me?
Your Honor, may I have a moment with my client?
Please be brief.
James, you've got to calm down.
I can't take much more of this.
Just take it easy. Just do it as they rehearsed. Everything will be fine.
Everybody's turning against
Don't
me.
worry about it. Your Honor, my client is ready.
Mr. Tobin, why did you shoot yourself in the leg?
I was afraid that no one would believe me unless I could show that Zach tried to kill me.
And as your partner, Zachary Barnes, lay bleeding to death at your feet, your first thought was to protect yourself?
No, I gave him CPR.
You gave CPR to a man who was bleeding through the throat?
Yes. No.
Matter of fact, you went outside into the alley, as Yvonne Barnes said.
Oh, yeah, well, she is lying.
I see. For many years, you and Zachary had a successful partnership, yes?
Yes.
And Yvonne was part of your circle of friends?
At what time?
Simon loyally helped you with your work?
Yes.
And Ruby, the woman you loved?
That lying whore.
I see. So now you claim that all these friends, Simon Lee, Ruby Garcia, and the late Zachary
Lying,
Barnes...
scheming scum!
Mr.
They all
Tobin.
wanted my insurance money. Why doesn't anybody see my side of it? If I only had a competent attorney, this whole thing would have... And you put them up to this. I know you did.
The ranting of a desperate man. No more questions, Your Honor. I'm done with this witness.
Does the defense wish to call another witness?
No, Your Honor. We're finished.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have heard all the evidence. And it's time now for me to give you the instructions on the law, after which you will hear the closing arguments. And remember, the closing arguments are what is...
An important development in the Tobin trial. We go live to City Hall.
Just a few moments ago, the jury finally returned. They are looking very haggard after 9 days of deliberation. Word is they have reached a unanimous decision. The judge is now querying the foreperson, who will then hand over the verdict to the clerk of the court.
Will the defendant please rise? Clerk, read the verdict.
On the charge of grand theft, the jury finds the defendant guilty. On the charge of murder, the jury finds the defendant guilty of murder in the first degree.
Win some, lose some. Helps to be a friend of the judge. Congratulations.
Bailiff, take this man away. Court is adjourned.
In the vast expanse... All of them were packing up their tents and moving on. The city was well served by its prosecutor. I felt all along that Granger, in spite of occasional hesitations, would get a first, and he did.
You've really hung in there yourself, Frank. Any closing thoughts?
Relief, Laura. That's all.
Well, good work. This concludes Channel 2's coverage of the Tobin murder trial. We'll be right back with sports. Channel 2 presents next Thursday at 8, the made-for-TV movie more shocking than the headlines it's based on, The Tobin Trial, starring Tori Gray as the grieving widow, Yvonne, Blake Ramsey in the title role as the homicidal artist, and Patricia Williams as Ruby, torn between passion and loyalty for the accused. Critics have called this a shocking ride through the boudoirs and courtrooms of the world's most mysterious city.